Hello, everybody. My name is Kenton DeYoung, and I'm sitting here with my co-host Dylan Fairman.
Hey.
And this is Unsolved Canadian Mysteries. So, Dylan, how are you?
I am wonderful, Kenton. How are you?
I'm good.
That's
I'm good.
Great.
The podcast is doing good.
It is?
We're putting more stuff on Instagram. We're putting more stuff on YouTube. It's going good.
Yes.
The last one we talked about was
The bomb. Big boom.
right.
Big
yes,
boom on
the
the train.
Verrigan one. Yeah, Peter Verrigan. That's right.
Yeah.
And I love that one. I think it's like our best one.
I liked it too.
I just thought it was really great how, like, I didn't get anything wrong in it.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part. The only thing I got wrong was
Is she did it? Is it her again?
No.
Okay.
It was myself catching it.
Okay.
I said his house is 4 stories tall. I looked it up online. It's like 2.5.
Kenton!
Yeah, it's like deal breaker.
Why do we even do this podcast?
I don't know. But no, everyone liked it. My mom liked it. I found out actually that in around the 30s, my mom's side of the family, someone that moved out kind of near where the train crash happened, the train explosion. And they sent me newspaper clippings about the Duke of Boris and their protests and what they were doing.
Yeah.
Oh, that was kind of cool. I didn't realize I had a family out there.
That's cool.
Around the same time period.
Oh, I mean, that is so cool. It was probably one of my favorite ones too. I still love the beheading one just because I was not expecting any of that. Like, I usually don't expect anything. Like, I have no idea about anything except when Kenton said there's going to be pirates in the one. But I almost never know what's going to happen. But when it's like every single punchline to everything in that one podcast was their head was gone. So check that one out. And also the Peter Verrigan one. Dope.
We got a comment somewhere that this guy really liked the shtick we were doing earlier about bears being responsible for all the crimes.
Yeah. Well,
You like that.
Okay, here's the thing, Mr. Shtick. What are the odds that a bear planted a timed bomb on a train? Even I'm not that stupid. Okay.
Today's episode, it comes from this woman in Saskatchewan. She does crime articles.
Okay.
This one, her name is Melanie Cole. I think she's out of Regina or nearby. She does all these really cool, on her blog, all these different like crimes that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
So like 4 months ago, she put this one out and I thought, that one's awesome. We're going to use it. So this is our final true crime for now.
Cool. Oh, and then we're going back to mysteries?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hey, look, I like true crime, but I really like mysteries.
I can promise you the next one, it's like I've even interviewed someone. I'm so
really?
excited for the next one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
I'm stepping up the game.
Journalism. By the way, what did you think of the music for the last podcast?
It was great.
I know. That's my favorite
loved it.
music
It was
of
great.
anything I've
It
ever
was
found
great.
yet.
It was really good. I even thought, even like, because I downloaded it and I went to go see it, right? And you had us on the train in the background.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny. I laughed so much. Of course. Why not? May 20th, 1935. Our story begins with Caroline Fisher. Caroline is sure exactly her profession, but she's like a cleaner, housemaid, keeper of the Smiths family, of Mary and Frank Smith.
Okay.
And they live in this small house, kind of out in the country, right? I don't know if it's technically a farm, but it's 1935 up north, Saskatchewan. Okay, so it's maybe a farm, maybe it's just kind of out there in the woods. I'm not exactly sure of the property, but it doesn't really matter. Mrs. Fisher, I suppose it was, went to the building, went to the house, walked inside, and saw Mr. Smith, Frank Smith, still laying in bed, and Mrs. Smith crying on her bed. And she said, "What's wrong, Mary Smith? What's the matter? What's going on?" She said, "Oh, my husband's dead."
Okay. Pretty cash.
She says, "What happened? What happened?" And Mary says, "I shot him in the head."
Oh my God.
Caroline Fisher says, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go run some water in the kitchen. Start doing my duty." And instead, she went and got the police.
Well, no doubt.
Right.
It's kind of like, well, I'll run the water first, and then I'll get the police.
Well, I'll cover the sound of the door closing as I get the heck out of here.
Work comes first.
That's what I'm being paid for. The police show up, and the coroner shows up, and they all show up to see what exactly happened. And they show up a couple hours later because it'll take some time. And Mr. Smith, Frank Smith, is still in bed, still dead. Okay,
He's still dead,
he's
Kenton?
still there.
All right.
So they examine his body, and he does have he looks fine. He looks like he's sleeping, except for the gunshot wound into his head. Okay, directly into his head, like very clear shot, right?
Front, or you said side?
He was laying on his side, his head facing the wall.
Yeah.
It was I believe it was the back of the head.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, man.
So
Messy.
naturally, they decide to take Mary, put her in kind of hold her, and the court case begins. Okay. So it's clear she is the killer. What happens then is they start interviewing people, interviewing neighbors, interviewing friends, kind of figure out what happened. Who is she? Who is he? How did this happen? And it turns out that Mary and Frank met about maybe, I think it was 9 years prior. Okay. Mary was already married at the time. And Frank met her, stumbled upon her as she was outside cutting a hole in the ice. I think to go fishing or maybe just to get ice out. And Frank complimented her on her axemanship. Axe-womanship, I guess.
Captain.
Axe-personship.
Do you want to get more comments?
So he complimented her on her skill set.
With the axe.
With the axe. It was love at first sight. Much easier back then, I guess, to find a wife. Just kind of like, hey, you were pretty good with an axe.
Hey, baby, I saw you swinging that axe there.
But I guess it's not the best way to find a wife, considering she did shoot and kill him. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe that's a hint. Don't fall in love with someone who can use an axe.
Yeah.
She's already married, so as their relationship blossoms, she files for a divorce and moves in with Frank. At that point, they start interviewing some other people, right? Some friends of Frank say Frank is a good man, a good person, right? They interview Mary's sister, and Mary's sister says Frank is abusive. He's mean. He hurts her, right? He's hospitalized her. He's not a good guy. So they interview one of Frank's friends. He says, like, Mary's crazy. Something's wrong with Mary. For example, at one point, Mary's in the hospital. Doesn't say why. Who knows why, right? And Frank doesn't want to go see her. He says something like, I don't want to see that crazy bitch. So we have to mute that. I don't know. that was a quote, but shoot, I think that's my first swear.
Yes.
Oh, darn.
Welcome.
They interview some more people and they interview some doctors. And the doctors who take a look at her, two of them come to the conclusion that Mary is subnormal, meaning she, in their term.
She's a mole person.
No. She isn't there mentally. She has the mental capacity of an 8-year-old.
Oh.
And their marriage was considered I think it was a unlawful union. So I don't know if that means because she wasn't had the mental capacity to get married, but she was already married twice, right? Or they never got married because maybe the divorce wasn't properly done, or they just never got married. One of the doctors, so they interview I think 3 or 4 doctors. One of them is her family doctor, and he says there's nothing wrong with Mary. Mary is perfectly fine. A lot of members of her family suffer from schizophrenia and suffer from epilepsy. For example, she is much better off than her sister. Now, this is the same sister who said Frank was abusive.
Right.
The only one besides Mary to say he's abusive. Okay, so that comes up later. Then the family doctor, is talking about the family. Says, well, the brother, he claims, and you're going to laugh at this because we just talked about this. And I was like, oh, man, you mentioned it too. He claims there are headless people on his property demanding the land back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do they live?
They just, I didn't come out of the ground. I don't know. They don't come down from
Maybe they're from
the Yukon.
Yeah.
It's a long way down.
Well,
they ask Mary. They put her on her trial. Like, give us your testimony. What happened, right? So she talks about how they met, right, with the axe thing, and how they fell in love, and how he was abusive, and how he would often threaten her and beat her, and he would say that because of her medical problems, she was a big expense to him. The drugs cost too much money. There's no healthcare back then, right? In 35. The treatments cost too much money. He just wanted to go back to the old country, which was England. I've never heard of England called that the old country.
Yeah.
Usually it's Russia or something. But
when did healthcare start, by the way? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know the exact. I want to say it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
With Tommy Douglas.
When everyone's smoking J's.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to pay for this.
My grandmother was a nurse, and she.
I thought you were gonna say my grandma smoked J's.
No. My grandma was a nurse, and my mom told me she used to protest outside the legislative building when they were coming with the legislation. So, I think my mom was alive.
Yeah.
And my mom was, I don't want to say when she was born, in the 50s. So I'm thinking probably late 50s into the 60s.
Yeah.
So not in 35. One other story Mary says about Frank is that they brought in this gentleman, this old man named Jerry. Jerry was an old man that's kind of like living with them for $20 a month, right? That's his rent.
Pretty good rent.
And they had to take care of him. That was kind of their cheap rent, but he pays, and they take care of him. They kind of move him around, take care of him, feed him, right? But Frank was very mean to Jerry. And would often beat Jerry, yell at Jerry, call Jerry names. And once Jerry was, he's an old man, kind of disabled, right? Left him outside overnight in the rain. After Jerry came back inside, he developed probably pneumonia, and he would die that spring.
Poor Jerry.
Right? And Mary called him Old Jerry. Old Jerry. She liked Old Jerry.
Clever name.
Yeah, right. The old guy, Jerry? They call him old Jerry.
I think I'll call him old Jerry.
Once old Jerry passes away, they have to do an autopsy, an inquiry, right? Because when someone dies, you have to do it. The person won't write up a death certificate on old Jerry because of all the bruises on his body. He wants an investigation into what happened, right? Frank convinces him otherwise. So there's no death certificate. So I'm thinking, right, just thinking of the mind of Frank here, it's probably something like, hey man, my wife, she's not doing too good, right? And she really liked old Jerry. It would be kind of tough for her if the police were coming around, looking, checking into things. Old people, they just fall down and get bruised all the time. So I could see him kind of convincing him, just let it go.
You almost convinced me. If that's how he talked, hard to say no.
Yeah, right? So, no death certificate.
Wow.
Instead, Frank gets the body. Neighbor comes, they build him a little pine coffin, bury him on the land. Jerry's gone.
Wow.
Of course, you make this claim about Jerry. You have to investigate. Was Jerry a real guy? Did they really take care of him? And yes, the government has records of Jerry being there and Jerry dying there. Okay, so that was true. Then she says that after Jerry passes away, he gets more violent towards her, and he wants to take some money and go back home, back to England, and she doesn't want him to. She wants to stay, someone to help take care of her, and they have a fight. And the fight goes violent, and at the end of it, he takes out a gun and threatens her with it, and I believe he goes to... No, that would be a different time. He was going to shoot her, but she moved the gun out of the way and he shot the roof instead. So this time with the gun, he has it. I think he drops it, or she knocks it out of his hand. He just goes to bed. He says, I'm done with this conversation, right? So he goes to bed. They're arguing while in bed, and she picks up the gun and says, if you get up and come after me, I'm going to shoot you. And Frank says, you just try that. Let's go right ahead. She does.
That's permission.
Right. He said, do it.
He said, do it.
And she claims she didn't know the gun was loaded.
That's it. Okay.
And I'm thinking that too. You've already seen the gun fired in the house once, right? Why would it not be loaded now?
Right.
She puts down the gun. She hugs his body and says, I didn't know it was going to come to this. I'm so sorry, Jerry. And she just sits on the bed until
I think you said Jerry.
I'm sorry, Frank. I'm so sorry, Frank.
Jerry's dead, Kenton.
They're both dead.
He was left in the rain to die.
And she waits in the bed for the woman to come in the morning to help clean the house. So that's her story.
Damn. Well, now Frank's with Jerry now.
Mm-hmm. The defense is self-defense. Frank is obviously abusive. He is inadvertently the cause of Jerry's death. He has threatened Mary, shot at Mary once. This was self-defense, right? Today, one could argue it was manslaughter because, maybe she didn't know the gun was loaded. Maybe she didn't mean to shoot him in the head, right? All these maybes, right? It doesn't seem like she deliberately meant to do it, especially if she wasn't, if she was not mentally there, right?
Right.
She's found guilty, and she's sentenced to hang.
Yeah, no. If that happened today, it'd be probably quite a bit different story.
Yeah. I think there was one part where she did make a claim that she's being abused, and it was ignored. That's what they did in the 30s, right? I think it was the guy said that she was what was the word that they used? She was acting wasn't annoying. So she did go to someone and report the abuse, but they said that the guy said that he didn't file it because Mary seemed a little bit strange, and he liked Frank. He was a good person, so they wasn't going to file a claim that this was happened. No claim, nothing to say he was abusive, except for the claims of Mary and her sister.
Okay.
So Mary's sentenced to hang for this crime of killing her husband. The lawyer, good lawyer, goes for a second trial, right? Says, can we review this again? This time on the idea that she is mentally...
Insane.
Yeah, that's the term they use, insane. I didn't want to say insane, but yeah, insane.
If that's the term they use.
We'll use it. It might not be PC, but we'll use it. It's that she's mentally insane. So they decide to do brain surgery on her to determine if she has epilepsy.
Brain surgery in
1935. They didn't cut open it up and take the brain out like you're thinking. Instead, they injected air into her brain to see if it caused epileptic attacks.
Okay.
This procedure has been, even then, been controversial.
Oh, shit.
It causes a variety of health problems and can even sometimes kill the patient. Naturally, she had epileptic fit, right? Because there's all these other cases where this stuff has happened. So she had a fit. As she was recovering, she began to have these dreams, and she would tell the nurse about these dreams, and she would tell her lawyer about these dreams. And one of these dreams, I guess actually this dream happened before the procedure. She would wake up, she'd be in bed, and there'd be a giant hairy monster over top of her trying to choke her. And she thought that this was her mind trying to wrap her head around Frank.
Yeah.
And that because of their unlawful union, she had been excommunicated from the church. And this was like him stealing her away from the church.
Right.
Okay. I think it was after the procedure, she started having another dream that Frank was still alive. And he was mocking her, saying, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. Right? She would also say in her sleep things like, stop, Frank, you're hurting me. Or leave old Jerry alone. That kind of thing. And these were what they took to the court case, saying that, her brother sees headless people, her mother died of epilepsy, her sister's medically insane, she's hearing things, she's seeing things in her dreams, she's medically insane too.
After we shot all this air into her brain, she's done all these things.
So they determined in the second trial that she is medically insane, and she gets sentenced, to my understanding, to life in the North Battleford Penitentiary in the mental asylum.
Oh, good.
So I don't know if she ever got out. I'm thinking not.
Yeah.
The unsolved Canadian mystery part here is was she medically insane before the procedure when she shot him, or in the second trial? The lawyers say, the ones who not the defendants but the other ones who are saying she's guilty, says that she acted like it was a performance in the courtroom. That she kind of like paused and kind of made it seem more like a show than a testimony to how she's being abused and ultimately killed this man.
Isn't it silly how an investigation about a politician assassinated on a train is still open and being investigated and all that jazz, yet one woman who might have still been alive not so long ago is just completely forgotten about?
Yeah. The only people who say that Frank was abusive, besides old Jerry, right, is Mary and her sister.
Yeah.
And if they determined that Mary was so criminally, she was so mentally insane, she was unfit to stand trial. So if she's unfit to stand trial, you think her sister's testimony should be discarded.
I see.
Right?
I see what you mean, yeah.
So then there's no proof of any abuse.
Except for Jerry.
That's the only thing, right?
Everything comes back to Jerry.
But there's no death certificate. There's no claim what happened to him, right? Just the fact that he's buried on the property now. Like, I personally think that Mary, might have been mentally disabled, and that she killed Frank. But there's not a lot of evidence to say Frank was abusive.
Yeah. Oh man.
Do you think Mary was mentally insane?
Her sister. What were the factors of her being crazy? Was it just the brother saying she's crazy?
So this sister, I don't know what it was, but the doctor said, the family doctor said. And the family doctor said, like, the mother has epilepsy, the dad has epilepsy, the brother has it, sister has it. But Mary, he said Mary is above average intelligence.
Okay, well, that's interesting, because I was just about to disregard the doctor and say, doctors in the 30s were willing to drill a hole in someone's brain and shoot air into it.
The one who did that wasn't the family doctor.
Okay. Well, oh man. Why don't you just electrocute her and see what happens? Which they probably did when she went to that penitentiary.
You bet. Yep.
I would hate for the truth of the story to be this woman who has a crazy sister, has to deal with that, has a brother-in-law that thinks she's crazy because she complains about his brother all the time beating her, and has to watch an old man get beat by her husband all the time and then gets threatened all the time. Finally, he says, go ahead, make my day, and she shoots him, and then now she's boned and she has to go to probably a place almost worse than death.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there was no outside time where you get to smell the flowers and eat lemonade. I don't know why I said eat lemonade, but maybe she tried to eat lemonade now.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I don't know, Kent.
So I think she may have had some mental illness beforehand, right? Maybe not as much, right? Because her doctor said that she was above normal intelligence.
Right.
But her family had some, and there's chances she maybe had some as well. And they did say that she had a lot of medical expense that was costing Frank a lot of money. So she had something, but she seemed fine. Like, she had a previous marriage. She was able to do yard work. She was cutting up ice. So I think she was fine. And then the procedure is what kind of was a catalyst.
Yeah. Oh, that's gnarly.
Yeah, it's kind of a different unsolved mystery.
Yeah.
Kind of like what was her state of mind.
Yeah.
But it's true crime, so like I can't make it too, mysterious. It's not like it's monsters. Well, we had some monsters in it, kind of.
Yeah. And, think about the hairy thing choking her.
Yeah.
Could have been a bear.
Yes. Or the headless people on the property could have been from bears.
Yeah, bears ate their heads off.
Yeah.
We know they'd probably do that. And then shoot down planes.
Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for listening to my story tonight.
Thank you, Kenton, for bringing it to me.
And it was a little bit different one, but it was a final true crime. I thought it'd be kind of cool to have one where there's...
For now.
For now.
Don't get so pissy.
I thought it'd be a good one to kind of like a mental true crime.
Yeah.
As opposed to like whodunit.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dylan. And thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Unsolved Canadian Mysteries. Next time is a monster episode.
Monsters.
And I did an interview for it.
Cool.
So I'm excited to share with everybody.
Awesome.
So thank you for tuning in. As always, my name is Kenton DeYoung, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Dylan Fairman. And this is Unsolved Canadian Mysteries.